Hello everyone, David here. On my last video you saw this log dump car that I bought at a flea market for $5, and it was very nice. I cleaned it up, and this is supposed to work by going over a piece of track like this here, and this is simply a electromagnet in here, and then what that would do is when you put power to it, it would pull this plunger down, and this is supposed to dump. But that doesn't happen, and I couldn't find too much information. So I played around with it, and I found out that I could put a spring in there. So what I did is I took a spring from a pen, an ordinary pen spring, from a pen like that, and I cut it. So what you want to do is cut like the bottom here where this is wound real tight, cut that off, as you can see here. And then cut it just a little bit short, because it has to be small enough or short enough that when you compress it, it will still fit where it's supposed to go. So I took my best guess at where that's supposed to go. So what you do, tilt that up, and carefully, one end is easier to take out than the other, like that. Then you got your spring here that you cut. You put it on, there's a little round, yeah, right there. It's kind of, it should fit a little bit tight because you don't want that coming off. Okay. And then again, put this bottom side in here first, and make sure there's a small hole on the other side. That spring in there, like that. So that is apparently where a spring belongs. I don't know 100% sure, but all I could tell you is that's the only place I could figure to fit one. So that seems to work. So then you simply push that down, and it stays where it's supposed to. And then when it would go over this uncoupling and unloading track here and energize the magnet, it would pull that down, and that would work just like that. So it looks like I have that fixed. Unfortunately, this car here only has one working coupler. That's a shame. This one does not stay locked. I don't know. Seems like there's got to be half a dozen different types of Lionel couplers. So I have to figure out how to replace that. Apparently you have to like pull or like cut the end of that rivet off or pinch it and then push it out to replace that coupler. So I'll have to find some couplers at a train show or something whenever I have a train show. So anyhow, I have this nice car for $5, which is worth more than that now that I got this fixed. So I have that working, and I have one coupler. Now, I found a dowel rod that's like a 1/2 inch or 3/8 dowel, and I cut it. But you know what? I mean, that'll work. That will work, but I think I can do better. So let's go out to the garage and see what we could find. So here we are out in Dave's dirty garage, and I have these pieces of wood here that I cut from a 1x12. They had something painted on it on the one side here. Actually, it was a train display, and I took it apart, so I got these pieces of wood. So I cut these on the table saw. So this is basically 3/4 of an inch square. So let's see if we can make something that looks like a log from this. So I figured I needed these to be 6 3/4 of an inch long. What I'm going to do is just cut one, and you just use that as a pattern to try and make the other ones the same length. They Don't have to be exactly the same length because, of course, not all logs are exactly the same. And that's what we're going for here, to make something that's a little bit more realistic than just a couple dial rods. Okay. Okay, so we got ourselves a good stack of sticks here. Okay, so we got some sticks here that we're going to try to make into something that looks like a log. I'm going to use a regular old utility knife here, and using our best Boy Scout safety rules about not cutting your hand off here. You want to carefully cut these off. Using the pine is easy to cut, but also you have to be careful that you don't cut too much. So you just want to kind of, I'm going against that. Take it off in little bits. You got to watch how the grain is, or else you're going to end up taking a big chunk out of it. Now I'm using a utility knife here because that's what I have handy. I suppose you could use a pocket knife. Using a utility knife, it's a nice sharp blade, but it's also a thin blade, so you have to be careful because, of course, if you put too much pressure on it, it's going to slip and either mess up your wood or mess up your fingers. So use whatever knife you're comfortable with. And just take your time here. Again, we're making logs, and logs are natural, so they are not perfect. The only thing that we're a little bit concerned about is making it somewhat round so that it actually rolls off of the log car. Fingers, watch the fingers. I put the rag there to keep this thing from sliding around. You could just go out and buy a 3/4 inch dowel stick and cut it and be done with it, but what fun would that be? Alright, so I did some of this off camera because it's easier for me to hold and cut it better. And it's kind of hard to lean over this table like this and do this. Get that just a little bit more here. Okay, so that kind of looks like a log. I guess it's kind of easiest to work at an end here and get that kind of in the shape you want, and then work from there. I don't know if any of you ever remember the Beverly Hillbillies. Jed Clampett, whenever he had a problem or he had some thinking to do something, he would say, well, we got to do some whittling. He'd get a stick and sit on the porch, and he'd whittle it until he figured out his problem or whatever he needed. Sometimes you start with a big piece and whittle it down to a toothpick. So I got another one done. I find this is easier if I start here like this and get it started. And then after I get it so far, then I actually hold it in my hands. Do it like this. It's easier than me leaning over. I can do this a little bit more accurately. Okay, so we have a pile of nicely handcrafted sticks. The only thing I can tell you is be careful you don't cut yourself, and you just want to make sure that there aren't any like flat spots on them so that they actually roll, because you don't want them to get stuck on your log dump car. And the only thing I did that I didn't show you is after I got these all done, I went on the end of these and got the smoothed it out a little bit, and then I took some sandpaper and just went like that real quick to do that. There's one more thing we have to do here. Okay, we have to find something here. There we go. Let's see what we have. You know what? Let's go with the special walnut. Always clean off the top of your paint cans or whatever, especially if it's in my garage, because I guarantee you it's going to be dirty. These guys here, dollar store, package of 6 of them for, you guessed it, $1. And the best thing is, after you use them, rip this off, and what do you have? A log or something you can use for something on your model trains. So, yeah, save those. So, what I'm going to do is I am just going to go to the end. In other words, I am not going to actually stain the end of it, because when you cut a log, the end of it is going to look like the inside of the log. It's not going to look like the outside. It's going to get a little bit messy. Again, it's a log, so it doesn't have to be super neat. That one came out a little bit darker. It's all right. Fingers, right, George? Watch your fingers. Should have said that when I was whittling. A few of you will get that joke. Just want to get the fingerprints off of them. Okay. Well, I have to clean off my table saw because I have one more part of this project to do, and I'll just show you when I'm done with it. So this is the other part that I made here, and I'm not going to brag about it because it took me a whole 15 minutes to make, and just made it out of some scrap wood. This is not my best work, and this is just so that when it dumps the logs, they don't go all over the place. That's all. So I don't know, I might paint that or maybe make a better one at some point, but it's functional for now and will keep my logs from going all over the place. So as soon as my logs dry, we can test this out.